On today's show, Darrell and I are talking about using data for game planning. Welcome back to Strategic Baseball Podcast. Another week, and we are getting closer to baseball season. As a matter of fact, here in Oklahoma, I know that some of these JUCOs are kicking off this weekend and through into next week. So it's an exciting time, and we're praying. Darrell and I are praying that everyone has a safe and healthy season. Everybody has a full and complete season. So on today's show, Darrell and I are talking about using data in game planning. And if you missed the last episode, make sure you catch that. We were talking about the difference between the mental and the strategic side of baseball. And in that conversation, I mentioned that there were some coaches and some facility owners that Darrell and I have partnered up with. And we got a couple emails inquiring about that. So yeah, we're always looking for potential strategic partners targeting, mainly the facility owners, instructors, and trainers, guys that we can invest in and partner with. So again, what we do, it typically, the way we explain it, what we do typically stacks on top of what guys are already doing. A lot of guys are doing really great stuff. We just think that our stuff stacks on top to get the guys into the mindset of this strategic thinking. And so if you guys have any interest in that, just send me an email at Geoff, Geoff at athletic-mission.com. All right, Darrell, let's kick this off. Today we're talking about using data for game planning.
Yeah, man, this is where I think the game is going, and I think teams want it to. Let's just be real about it. I think organizations, the ability, at the pro and college level, especially, to collect all this data and have this information. And I think the real question is are coaches really ready? And I think the coaches would probably say, no, the real question is are the players really ready? And so that's where you and I have been trying to tackle this thing. And we're doing it right now with our high school guys here in Tulsa and really starting to grasp that, yeah, even through the limited sources of information and data that we can get, but there's still a framework, there's still a mindset that we want our guys to understand and walk through to really start thinking like that, to start processing information that way. So, especially in high school where you really can be, kind of stuck in that compare and convince mindset. And when you're stuck in that compare and convince, man, you're just constantly comparing yourself against everybody else and trying to convince yourself or a coach that you're good enough to play. And when you're stuck kind of in that mindset, it really don't let you look at your opponent. It's more about what you're able to do or not able to do. And that's the first shift that you and I really focus on, that we got to get these guys to believe, not just in their physical capability, but to understand that, once preseason's over, man, it's about how we prepare for the opponent. Whether you like it or not, that's just the reality of how baseball's played today. And the better players that have a plan, that understand how to kind of read and study a pitcher or read and study a hitter, and can kind of dissect that a little bit just to look for some cues and clues, man, that would give them some sort of advantage on game day, or kind of seeing the patterns, habits, and tendencies that, all of us fall into as pitchers and hitters and players. That does it open a door, or does it offer up some type of cue, something that we can use strategically against them? And I think that's the heart and soul of our program here at Athletic Mission, that we really do, we train and we work on things. And again, we want to make sure our guys are healthy and ready to go. But at the end of the day, man, the focus of our program is to make sure that these guys know how to create a strategy on game day and show up on game day and play well. And so we really do. We kind of look through what the pregame data, we break it up in a couple different sections here with the pitchers. Because again, I'm not trying to overwhelm these guys with 30-page or 40-page scouting reports. There's just not that type of high school information about different players. But with the different scouting services, with the different programs that's out there, with the different videos and stuff that's on YouTube, if you look hard enough, you'd be amazed at some of the better players, or most of the better players that you're playing against. Somewhere out there on Twitter, somewhere, has got a little something that you can read and study. They got some numbers that you can see and kind of look at their effectiveness and kind of look at how they move, and kind of just see those raw numbers. And we can take stuff away from it. We can take stuff away from their strikeout to walk ratio. We can take stuff away from watching their last 10 at bats and kind of seeing their take pitches and seeing the pitches that they're swinging at, and the different counts that they're taking pitches and certain pitches and the certain counts that they're swinging. And, really, when we start breaking down just those basic, numbers and stats, we can create a game plan based on what our guys can do. If we know that these guys understand, especially from the pitching side, they understand how their pitches move. They understand how to use their pitches. And the thing that you and I drive home is, and especially on the pitching side, is that you got to master and trust your pitches in the preseason. So when we go in season, we can create a real strategy. And so that's the goal of our preseason programming here. It's really to identify the pitches that these guys are going to throw this season. And okay, now we got to master those pitches. And so we don't do just like simple nuanced bullpens that most coaches do. We don't just go throw 5 fastballs away and 5, curveballs away or whatever, man. We throw each pitch by velocity and movement to a specific location. We want these guys to narrow down their command, and we want them to be able to do it at max velocity. And so we have to train that. We can't just expect that that's going to naturally happen as we transition from preseason to end season. And so with that, when we kind of pair together the fact that we're trying to identify and kind of, get the feel and build that trust in the pitches we're going to use that season. And then at the same time, start looking at the opponent, start looking at the hitters that we're going to face, and especially the ones around here, high school wise, that we know who the better hitters are. We know the ones that can really punish us in the game. And we sit down and create a game plan against them. And it is absolutely possible to do it, high school kids. And you and I do it here every day. Yep. But I think a lot of it is setting that framework. And we have here, man. We spent the off season letting these guys know that, man, everything that we're doing, all our off-season training, all our preseason practice, and as we transition into the throwing program and really working through, getting into our preseason bullpens and on your side, I know you'll talk about that a little more, but when we start talking about that piece of it, it transitions from that you piece to now when the season starts, that is more about the opponent. It's more about strategy. And you and I, that's a big core piece of what we do here, man. Like the off season's about getting bigger, faster, stronger, working on new things, recovery, whatever stuff you need to do. The preseason is about really identifying the baseball skills that we plan on using this season. And then, in season, it's about maintenance and it's about preparation. It's about really getting ready for the next start, next outing, and what we need to do. And I think our guys are starting to get that, man. It's pretty cool now that they're going through their high school practices, and they're going to start scrimmaging here in a week or two. They're starting to see now as we start talking to them individually about, okay, hey, you're going to scrimmage against this team. Who's the better hitter? What do you know about them? And kind of just laying that foundation for having that conversation, man. And now as these guys come back and they really start talking about the pins they've been throwing at school and all the things that they really are starting to think about, we're starting to see, man, a group of these guys really start to make that strategic advantage mindset shift. And dude, that's cool, because that's exactly what we ought to be doing as instructors and coaches and academies and high school coaches, and is we ought to be taking the information and data we can based on what we know these kids can do and helping them create a game day strategy, man. It ain't perfect, but it's a place to start, and it gives their mind and their body a chance to really get together and say, hey, game day is about the opponent. It ain't about what my physical capability is anymore. It's more about, can I go out and execute my pitches on purpose in certain situations and counts and consistently get hitters to do what I want them to do. And that's been baseball for 100 years, man. And the more that we take all the technology and data that we have today, Geoff, and we give these kids the ability, and we're not fire hosing them with this, man. We're just introducing it in a way that lets them start seeing the game a little bit different. And what's amazing about it, man, is like the kids that really want to do it are eating this up. And I think a couple of years from now, when these guys are ready to go off to college and play, man, there's some college coaches and pro scouts, man, it's going to be excited about the way these kids see the game, because what we're teaching here, man, they ain't getting hardly anywhere else. And so it's pretty cool that we're able to tie together the off season and the preseason and really help these guys transition, into the in season and having that strategic advantage mindset, man. And so that's the takeaway as we start this piece. And I know over the next few shows, we're going to start breaking down a little more in depth how we literally do it. But again, man, I want coaches and parents and players that are listening to understand that, man, the game is so much more fun when the kids take ownership of the game, man. When the kids are out there and the pitcher and the catcher is working, hitters and trying to get things done. And that don't mean the coaches don't have input and feedback, and we should. But at the same time, the more that we give them and the more that they want to take that part of it and run with it, man, I think that's how we keep the game growing. That's how we keep kids interested, because the better athletes, they want that part of the game. They want the strategic part of the game. They don't want it to be mindless and just have a coach over there video game calling pitches for them. And then they hope that it magically turns out the way they want it to. They want to be able to engage and have really good conversations with coaches that want to have those conversations. And does it take a little more time? Yeah. Does it take maybe a part of practice that we're not going to just sit here and do mindless drills, that we're going to sit here and take the pitching coaches and the pitchers and go down and break other teams down? I'm telling you, the better teams are doing that. They're just, they're refocusing and really starting to get an idea of how they do it. And so, man, I'm excited to have this conversation the next few weeks. And I'm really excited about our group that's getting ready to start scrimmaging. And, good Lord willing, they're going to play here in the next month or two if we can keep everybody safe and healthy. And we have a chance to watch it all come to fruition.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is the time of the year for you and I is a lot of fun, because you do start seeing guys make this mindset shift, and you do see them finally kind of accepting where they're at for this season and recognize where and how they can help their coaches and their team win games. They've shifted their focus to their opponent and wanting to have a strategy against them based on based on what they're capable of doing and what they want to do against him based on what they know about him. So, data, the numbers and the real-time information we process to, in watching a real baseball game, and like you said, we try to find, we try to help our guys find as much information on pitchers as possible, anywhere we can find, YouTube, Twitter, PBR, Perfect Game, wherever we can find some type of information on guys, some type of data on guys, or we can find video. Now we can kind of get a feel for his velocity, how his pitches move, how he's set up, what his tempo is like. We kind of get an idea of all that stuff. And now we kind of take that and we make that game plan, So we tell hitters that we need to be thinking through what we know, actually what they know about us. Am I the power hitter type who's super aggressive, or am I just the smaller stature guy who's a lefty with really good barrel control? Am I a guy that likes to take that first pitch? Is that first pitch taken? Is that a team philosophy? What am I telling this pitcher about me? And then with that, what is, when this pitcher, what is this pitcher, when he's ahead, what is his pitches? And then what is his out pitch? Along with the PVML of his pitches, his velocity range, the movement. This gives me an idea of what I'm up against and how I can use this next couple of days, the practice session, to prepare for that. So what can we pick up? Can we pick up, what are his patterns, habits, and tendencies? What are the pitching coach for that other team? What are his patterns, habits, and tendencies? Is he doing something different against lefties and against righties? We're looking for things to eliminate. We're looking for things that we can take advantage of based on where this one individual and what he can do. Every hitter is different. So the game plan can't be generic. It has to be individualized for each individual based on the type of hitter they are and where they're currently at as a hitter in terms of skill set and their trust in being able to deliver or execute in a high pressure situation. So now, how these set up on the rubber, what's the tempo like, where's his glove at, what's his feet doing? Again, all of these are data that we're trying to capture to see if we can get a strategic advantage over them. So I mean, Darrell, man, you and I see it every day, having a bunch of high school guys talking about, game planning and their opponent and talking about potential adjustments they would make if XYZ would happen is a blast. And the kids are really enjoying it too. The conversations are fun. They're really starting to have aha moments. They're really starting to watch the game differently. They're really starting to become strategic thinkers and they're curious. And, now you're starting to see a lot of guys, they're really okay and willing to accept where they're at and then just trying to use whatever advantage they have with where they're at to help their team and help their coaches win games.
Absolutely. And that's the cool thing about here, man. We've been blessed. We got some really good high school players here, and these guys are buying in. They're seeing it. They know that they're looking for an advantage. They know that, high school baseball around here is super competitive, and there's some great players around here. So it's cool to see these guys want to really learn the game that way and see the game that way and just pay. And a lot of it is, like you said, man, it's just paying attention. It's just being really focused on, hey, man, what do I think this kid's going to do to me? What am I seeing him do to other guys in real time, whether it's hitting or pitching? And kind of just having that savvy, having that insight, man, that I think, too, is what I think you're hearing a lot of college coaches and pro scouts saying, man, we got some phenomenal athletes, but that part of the game is not being taught. It's not like it's the missing piece. And I think that's the cool thing about what we're doing here, because I think the guys are eating it up, man. They're like, this is the way the game ought to be. And just like you and I always tell them, man, the game's not boring when you have a strategy. But if you just went and played the game and you thought, hey, man, my physical capability is all I got, and today this kid is good, I probably ain't doing nothing against him, then I can see why you wouldn't like the game. But if you go and say, hey, man, this kid's a good pitcher, but I think, I got a plan. I got an idea of his habits and tendencies. I get him in this count, I'm going to hurry. I'm going to punish him. I'm going to make him do stuff. And I think just that mindset shift, that little bit of mindset shift, man, that's all it takes. That's the confidence of going out and seeing pitches and being disciplined enough to take certain pitches and certain counts, knowing that more than likely you're going to get this pitch in this count, man. See, that's baseball. And this is the same way pitching. When we can sit here and see a hitter, chase a pitch that he wouldn't normally chase, then we know that he's not seeing the ball well, that we know that he's changed his game plan a little bit. So that real-time reactions, those real-time data that you and I are always preaching to these guys about, you got to see that. You can't ignore that part of the game. You got to see where these guys are setting up in the box. You got to see where their hands are at. You got to understand what type of swing they have. All of that little simple information can be done in real time in 10 seconds and, before they at bat. And that information there, based on what you knew about him from previous at bats, is good information, man. It's going to tell you if he made an adjustment for you or whether there's something going on in his mind that he don't trust. And so that's information that we want to see. But I think these kids are so nervous today, or they're so focused on trying to throw hard or just throw a strike, or that they've kind of missed the game. And I think that's the big shift that you and I have been trying to really, teach high school players here and see if we can get them to do it, man. And it's been fun. But that's the big takeaway I want from today, man, is that the game can be fun when you have a strategy, and that data comes in 100 different forms. And we can use any of it if you understand who you are as a player and what you trust about what you can do. And then kind of the more you can learn about your opponent, the more you can see in real time what's happening and process that information to use it in real time. I think that's the better players, man. And I think we can teach that. And I think you and I are trying to do it every day here, man. And I think it's working.
Yeah, man. It's fun, man. Right now at Athletic Mission in Tulsa, we are doing live at bat, and it's fun talking to them, and even, them having conversations among themselves about the pitcher, what they're seeing and what their game plan is going to be when they are next to hit. And what's cool is when they stick to their plan and they're making the real-time adjustments, they are so confident when they're up there, which leads them to having really good at bats. So my takeaway can be very similar to yours. And the other thing is just making sure that, we understand that every pitcher is different. Every hitter is different. So every hitter's game plan against a pitcher is different based on where they're at and what they can do. So really fun stuff.
Absolutely. And hopefully it's something that spreads, man, that different facilities and instructors and academies and high school coaches and that we really do put an emphasis on teaching this again, because I think you're starting to see it even on Twitter and some of the places where, all the, obviously the best conversations happen.
Yeah.
but we're seeing it that good players and good coaches are starting to ask, like, hey, man, how do we really teach game planning? How do we really teach these young players how to see the game and create a strategy where it don't seem so like just concrete and stone, that it's a real fluid thing that happens. And I think that's what we're trying to do. And I think there is some good coaches out there trying to do it. And I'd love to hear back from them on different things they're doing to really help these young players see the game that way, because I think that's how we're going to keep the better high school athletes playing baseball. When they can see the game really from that strategic advantage mindset, then dude, it's a blast. And if you love it, yeah, and you really want to be a competitor, those are the kids that we want to keep playing, man. Yeah. Those are the kids that are going to be the best college and pro players and hopefully major leaguers down the road. And they're going to play the game the right way, man. So with all the information and tools and data and everything we have, we still got to teach these young players how to be strategic thinkers. And I think that's the cool thing that we're doing here, man.
Yeah, and you and I, we've got a couple coaches and facilities that we work with,
yeah,
in trying to implement this strategic baseball, this strategic advantage baseball process. Yep. So it'd be really cool to see how it plays out for them as the season kicks off.
Sweet, man. That's awesome.
All right, Darrell, man, good stuff. So, hey, thank you guys for listening. If you guys, again, as always, if you guys get any value out of these episodes, please leave us an objective review and then head over to strategic-baseball.com and submit your email. Darrell and I, again, are still working on stuff, but we got some cool stuff we're working on, and we'll hopefully get that out to you guys soon. Thank you all for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.